We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's that time of the week again. We're ready for the Week 12 YoMo, Camistro and the Bad Guy show, and we're going to recap, hopefully at some point in time, get some words of wisdom for our Kamish. Where you at, Kamish? You in there? Okay, welcome to the show. Man, that's a good today. You can count. Who's that?
Gotta celebrate somebody.
Cool... All right.
Gotta celebrate somebody.
Is that Barkley in the shirt?
That's Barkley jumping backwards over my man at Jaguars.
Okay. I like it. Funky
It's
boy.
an illustration. They're called illustrations in the design world, Marcus.
Oh, illustrations. Okay. Yeah.
But
I don't know much about the design world, but okay. All right. Welcome to the show.
I'll cheer on my birds. My teams aren't looking too hot, but hey, I clinched the playoffs, so I'm going to Trump dance a little bit. And I know I'm in the playoffs, so we'll just see how the rest of the season goes on. But obla-dee, obla-da.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you got to be happy to end. And it's been a while for me where I've actually got a spot so soon. So it's kind of nice, but I got higher aspirations, so we'll see what happens.
Weird fantasy year for sure, especially week 12 was also another weird one. So let's go ahead and do a recap of week 12. You ready to go, Marcus? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I guess I'm ready to go. Why not?
Full transparency and disclosure to everyone watching, the tens and tens of you. I didn't write anything this week because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. Stuff's going on. You know, Friday we have a big Black Friday, and I just didn't put any effort into it. So I'm going off the cuff this afternoon, whenever the time of this taping, Marcus. So let's get into it for our GM of the week. And you know what?
All right, go for it. I don't think anybody will be able to tell the difference, but go ahead.
Looking at a real quick follow-up to last week, this guy I don't think has won a GM of the week at all. I'm not going to do a Ryan Seacrest surprise on this one, but it is Young Sheldon.
Oh, dear.
I got to give it to Young Sheldon.
This guy, yeah, he did have a good week this week, though.
You know what? I looked at everybody's matchup. I looked at all the wins, all the losses, who they played, all that kind of stuff. And obviously there was 6 guys that won and 6 guys that lost, but I felt Young Sheldon scored 164, had a good week. He did beat Jake, who was in a playoff hunt. So I got to give him GM of the week this week. Sorry, nothing fancy, nothing crazy this week, but Young Sheldon, congrats. I think this is your first GM of the week.
Speaking of Young Sheldon, has anybody heard from that guy?
Where is he?
I don't know where he is. He found us.
He must have friends.
Friends? You met this guy?
Someone knows where he is.
Nobody's gonna tell you nothing.
Because, I mean, there were like whispers from him, you know, with his little rankings at the beginning of the year. I mean, did his feelings get hurt? I mean, obviously he turned the season around. I mean, you would think. But, I mean, I haven't heard anything from this guy. He doesn't put anything on the thread. I mean, is he just like, I mean, what is he, locked up in an island somewhere?
I think he's Bidening us, locked himself in the basement, and he's just running his entire fantasy campaign from the basement, you know?
Well, if he's Bidening us, wouldn't that mean that somebody else is running it for him?
Good shot.
Yeah,
who knows?
We'll see. All right. Well, anyway, listen, if you're out there, like and subscribe first off, and kudos to you.
Maybe we'll hear from him this week since we got a GM of the week. But moving on, we go to the weakest GM. And as much as I hate to do it, it's me. Camistro only scored 97, didn't break 100. Magus, we talked about it a little bit this week. I lost to flip-flops. Again.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of saw it coming.
Again. I lost to flip-flops. again. I cannot beat this guy for whatever reason. He is my nemesis. Even though his team is terrible this year, I lost to flip-flops twice. I have 4 losses. 2 of them are to flip-flops. I mean, that's weak. That is a weak GM. And I got to say...
Well, not as weak as Aaron losing to Barry twice.
Yeah. Man, that's a tough call this year, though. Barry's actually got a better team than flip-flops.
He does.
And I have a way better team than flip-flops. Way better. But hey,
well, not this week.
When your main quarterback has a guy like this guy running for 255 yards, of course he doesn't have to do anything. So his 17 hurts. When you got Derrick Henry running for 140 yards, but he can't get a touchdown because they give it to the backup and the quarterback, that hurts. When your number two running back is on bye and you got nobody to replace him, and you put in a wishful thinking and he does nothing, and when one of your top wide receivers, one of those guys who catches balls, his quarterback goes out, that's bad. Jared Goff, my number 2 QB, all his running backs did the work, and Will Lutz decided to score 19 points. So realistically,
wow,
I got beat by a kicker. And anybody out there that wants to argue with me, okay, Jeff, that I should have played Cooper Kupp over Ladd McConkey or Juan Jennings, Eagles secondary has shut down all the major wide receivers. Puka had a good night. He was the only receiver against the Eagles this year that have had a good night. Terry McLaurin was shut down. All these other big-name wide receivers, Jamar Chase, you had Jamar Chase when they played the Eagles, and he did squat. So
yes,
my thought process was, I don't want to have Cooper Kupp getting, 8 points or 7 points or something like that, because he's going to get his catches. And if it was a genius idea until the second team had to come in and they throw a garbage time touchdown. So for that reason, not breaking 100, I am your weakest GM.
Wow, it's pretty big of you to take that on for yourself. But good for you.
Hey, sometimes you gotta
bad
do
for
it.
you.
That's what a leader does, Marcus. Anyways,
okay.
Going from weak to sad, the Creepo Pedo Saddest Charlie Orndorff Award goes to, for the 3rd week in a row,
Ooh, in a row.
Justin.
Oh, he lost again?
Not only did he lose, 1, he lost to Aaron. 2, he only scored 61 points. I mean,
61 points?
61 points.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, that's
Holy
terrible.
Crap.
And he didn't break
100
100 last week. He didn't break 100 the week before. 3 weeks in a row, Justin hasn't broken 100. And my question to you is,
it's got to be some kind of record.
Did you just give up? Because typically that's your brother's MO in life, is just to give up. So
I mean, maybe it takes a lot of time to do those what do they call them? The lot lizard weather forecast pictures that he puts out. I mean, maybe
Don't usually find lot lizards out in the wild.
Maybe that's just taking up a lot of his time anymore. He can't focus on his team. Is that what it is? Maybe
I will say, ever since he's become a weatherman, his team has been so
we're not calling it lot lizard anymore.
He can be a lot lizard, but he was a lot lizard weatherman, and ever since he started posting those pictures, so
well, okay. Well, I mean, he's made his choice.
61 points is terrible. We had a discussion weeks ago about lowest scores in the league, and it's not the lowest, but 61. I mean, you can't even be trying to score 61 points. So who knows? He wasn't a playoff hunt. I don't think he's hunting anymore. So we will.
As far as I think, there's only one person that's been eliminated, right? Everybody else technically still has a shot.
Is Hank the only one eliminated?
I think he's. I didn't want to say it because I hold the guy in high regard, but yes, it looks like he was the only one who's got that scarlet letter next to his team.
it's a great lead-in because we're going from sad to disappointment, and for the second week in a row, Hank is my biggest disappointment. But
Okay.
I'm not disappointed because Hank didn't make the playoffs. I'm disappointed because Hank had a chance to really pull it out against you this week, and he ends up losing by 3 to you because of another sweaty Monday night for you.
I know it, man. I'm done with. I really I don't like it. Again, Billy Beaned it. I just I thought
went
I had a
opposite.
good shot.
I watched again this week just to see, and I had some of my guys rolling. I thought I had a chance, but enough about me. Hank, disappointing. Debo's got to be a big disappointment to you.
Oh yeah.
DeAndre Swift was a big disappointment, especially when Chubba Hubbard had 14. DeAndre Swift had 9, and that was the difference in y'all's game.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
yeah,
Chargers defense didn't help them, but I'm still gung-ho about not having defenses and not having kickers, but I think that's just a you and me thing.
Yeah, I don't want them. I don't want them either.
I lost. You won by a kicker last week. I lost by a kicker this week. So I don't like them. I don't like them having the game. But Hank, I'm not mad, buddy.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm not even going to be mad this week when your Buckeyes blow out Michigan. But I am disappointed. I am disappointed because, sorry, Marcus, anybody who has a record at mine or above, I want y'all to lose. So
yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's a competition after all. I get it.
And when it was only 3 points, that means that Marcus, bad guy, you win the not Aaron slimmest margin of victory.
I think that's 2 weeks in a row.
It is 2 weeks in a row. We got a lot of repeats this week. Yeah,
I mean, I'll take it anywhere I can get it, but I'd much rather have the points.
3 weeks in a row for the saddest, 2 weeks in a row for the disappointment, and 2 weeks in a row for the not Aaron slimmest victory. So I don't know.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, next I'm going to talk about the biggest blowout. And believe it or not, this guy's been on the opposite end of the spectrum this year. He's on a certain type of spectrum that we all know what I'm talking about.
Like, all right. You know how autistic people are extremely uncomfortable in social settings? Let's stick a camera in these fucking retards' face and watch it take.
But this week, he's been on the opposite end of the blowout spectrum because he blew out grass. We're talking about Mr. Aaron Rich. He won by 59 points.
Wow.
Kid Free is back. But, of course, he's only back against Justin. So that 120, the only teams you would have beat would have been Justin and me and Flip Flops. So,
yeah, talk about grabbing a lot lizard by the tail.
I don't know if you're back so much, but as far as spectrums, you finally, sir, got a good award this week by winning by 59 points for the biggest blowout.
And and Aaron's not eliminated, huh? We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I knocked over the microphone. Just kicked it on the floor.
Maron,
whatever that means. Moron. Okay.
No, it's an Italian saying, I think. It's like, what the hell? Anyhow. But Aaron, I guess, still has a chance as well then, because I didn't think he's eliminated.
We will see. We will see, which is going to take us on to the... I can't call it anything anymore because nobody's benched. Everyone's playing or cut or with new teams or whatever it is. So it's just the Joel Embiid decided not to play because of load management bench of the week. And this week, we're going back to one of our favorites in the league, Ben Scientist. So,
talk about a guy who's on a roll.
Yeah, he scored 153 this week. I thought Rob had a fairly good week, but some of his guys let him down. And then, of course, Mad Scientist with the probably the draft pick of the year in Saquon Barkley, who I wanted to take right before him. He drops 153 with Barkley's 48, I believe he had. And that he had 69 points on the bench. And
wow.
His 153, very respectable, right?
Yeah.
And that was
absolutely.
that was with a 0 from Christian Watson and only 4 points from his all-world tight end Cade Otton. And he had Jonnu Smith on the bench this week who had 23 points. So his bench of the week at 69 points didn't really matter. He still won again this week. He is on a roll. And kudos to you, the newest champion of your mom, the Mad Scientist, because I've already congratulated him in text messages. My pick is for him to win it all. Anyways.
Really?
It's my pick. He's running right now. He's running right now.
Okay. I mean, you want to get hot at the right time. He's definitely doing it, but okay. All right.
So it's going to take us to our final, our final award this week before the Thanksgiving weekend and that big Black Friday. The highest points of the week.
I'm just really high.
And this one goes to our resident tech support, Calcutta Carl, with 170 points. Which is funny to think about, Marcus, because after all the 200 weeks we've had recently, 170 seems weak, but it's still a really high score. And he
didn't even have Josh Allen.
No, and he needed all of that 170 to beat Barry because Barry scored 138, which is really, really good. But Cooper Rush decided to have a pretty big week for him, so that helped him out a lot with Josh Allen down. Cooper Rush dropped 24, so that's nothing to shake a stick at. And Jahmyr Gibbs had 2 touchdowns, which I would have liked one of those to go to Jared Goff, which could have helped me win, but no. And A-Chain's rolling. Nico Collins is back. So once he's off his bye, he's also got a really strong team. So I hate to say it, but I do. I would like to say I predict those 2 in the finals, but they're going to end up meeting in the semis, I believe, which will be a clash of the Eagles and Lions, I believe. So.
Whoa.
And unfortunately, Marcus, our favorite award, no EPPs this week. No EPPs.
Oh, man.
No EPPs.
This is my pee-pee. I dislike that thing, man.
Jeff was very close. He had 48, 29, 25.
Ooh,
and,
that's close.
Yeah, I mean, you were kind of close too. Tua had a big
he did
big
have
week.
A big day.
His 39, but you didn't have anybody close to the third spot. And I was actually looking at Rob, his 2 quarterbacks both were over 30. He had a 39 from Daniels and a 34 from Nail Polish Nancy. You're welcome. Didn't help him win. But he didn't have that vaunted third one. But Mad Scientist was close. We're talking about Jeff. He's always close with the wee peepees. So, and the one award that I didn't look at this week, and maybe if I go back through editing, I can double check if I missed it. But there was no GPPs this week. So, so that is actually all I have this week for the recap. It was a quick recap. All of that was off the top of my head. None of it was written down. I only had notes of who I picked. And we now move on to one of my favorite parts of the show, which is the rants of a bad guy.
All right. Well, listen, I got a few things here today that we're going to go through. First, before we get started, please like and subscribe and check out the YouTube enhanced version. Considering the lack of prep this week, I'm sure it's going to be made up on the back end with some nice edits by the commish. But a few things we want to talk about today. So the first is, we talked about the Jets being a loser organization in the past, and we've gone through that. But now it looks like their roommate, the Giants.
Wow.
I think it was what's going on with the Jets contagious, because this organization the last few years has just really run itself into the ground. They've got to be missing Tom Coughlin. That's how bad it is. And the icing on the Coughlin, Coughlin, I don't know, what is it? Calkin?
I think they're
Coughlin.
It's Coughlin.
Coughlin.
Like a coffin.
Like cough drops?
Like you die in, except there's an L in there.
All right, so it's entertainment and education for people who've been pronouncing it wrong. But anyway,
I would say they're missing Eli Manning, but proceed.
Yeah, it's I will say this: it is tough to replace a long-term franchise quarterback. Odds are, unless you got the guy in house, you're not going to have it. You're not going to get that continuation. It's kind of luck of the draw. But this guy Brian Daboll's a maniac. So my sources tell me he's a master of the blame game. He's a hothead. He can't keep his composure. And the Daniel Jones thing is just weird. And so I got a few takes on it. One is, I think it worked in the beginning because he saw Daniel Jones for what he was and tried to enhance his talents. I think where it started to go away and why nobody misses him for real in Buffalo is because he tried to make Daniel Jones what he's not. And that's Josh Allen. And you can't do that. You got to see your guy for what he is. And obviously, they committed to the guy. They gave the guy money. So why were you so quick to throw him under the bus? I think it's a shining example of his own insecurities, and it's proof of what goes on behind the scenes. He was looking for a fall guy. He's a hothead, and he made it Daniel Jones.
You couldn't draft a quarterback if you wanted to. You still owe me at least $40 million. You really gonna walk away from Danny Dimes? No, please don't draft a quarterback, please. I'll do anything.
We're taking Neighbors.
Yes!
You want to talk about a dumb move? Die with your quarterback, but take your boy. Have him as your guy and ride or die with him. I think that's the only way it really works. They are a disaster. And then to the icing on the cake, how do you go from 1 to 3?
Yeah.
Why do you even have a number 2 if you're going to start the third guy? And I saw some place where they said, well, perhaps the mindset was DeVito's going to put more fans in the seats. Is that how you're running your organization now? How many those tickets are sold? The last thing the NFL needs is money from ticket revenue. And you know what? The Giant fan base is just as loyal as the Browns. They're going to show up to watch you lose. Now, they may show up to boo the crap out of you for 4 quarters, but they're not going to the game.
Yeah.
They're not going. They're going to be there. It's just crazy.
You're absolutely right. They signed Drew Lock for a reason. I remember watching Hard Knocks and Drew Lock getting on and doing his TikTok and saying, let's get it and all this kind of crap. And Drew Lock's definitely better than Tommy DeVito. He's not as good as what Daniel Jones was. But here's what I'll say. You look at the first season Daboll came in, and they were a surprise team to everybody. New York says, we got our coach. We got our quarterback. But here is where the Giants screwed up, and everybody saw it on national TV, on Hard Knocks.
Never let Barkley.
They screwed themselves with Barkley, listening to the owner say, I'm going to have a hard time sleeping at night if Barkley goes to Philadelphia. And listen.
I'm going to have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that.
Sheen or Shine or whatever his name is, that's what he's going to be doing after this season, shining shoes, because There is
That's
no
what he
way
should be doing.
there is no way they can keep him. I feel bad because you get to see his family in there. Now I feel like they're all, but he is no Howie Roseman of the Eagles
No.
who's just making moves. And I personally don't think it's Dable's fault. I think Dable might be a good coach, but just like those Red Sox for many, many, many years, they now have the curse of the Barkley, and they are going to be cursed for years to come because they can do nothing but rebuild. They thought they had something in OBJ, garbage. I think Malik Neighbors is just another version of OBJ. He's already talking as a rookie, and they aren't going to find a quarterback in the draft that's going to make them.
Not this year.
They're not going to find a Daniels. I don't care what. I don't think they'll. Even if they get Shedeur Sanders, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is what people make him out to be.
Listen, would you want him? Would you want that guy?
Who?
Shedeur? Would you want him?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't want him. No, I don't want him either.
I don't.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, and this may be shocking. This may be, a hot take, but I don't think Daniel Jones is that bad. I think he needs a revitalization as to the Baker Fields of the world, the Sam Darnolds of the world, the Jameis Winstons, if you will, right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the organization that you go to, and right now, the Giants, they put all their eggs into the wrong basket. Absolutely, they should have signed Jaden Daniels. They really should have. But who knows if he would have been as good there? If not, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Organization,
I don't think so.
But yeah, they are a loser organization right now, and I think they're going to be cursed for years to come.
Yeah, and I think too that so if you look at the big three, I guess it's from last year. So I mean, people are so scared in the NFL about giving out the next Todd Gurley contract.
Yeah.
That it's to their own detriment.
Yep.
And so it's kind of funny because the three guys that their organizations, the big ones that got their back turned on them because they hit that, they hit that milestone, so to speak, or that amount of miles on the tread on the tires, miles on the engine, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, and Barkley.
And look at
how are they doing?
Amazing.
And how are they doing? And how about how are the teams that they left behind doing?
Yeah.
They were all a disaster.
And you know what? You could actually throw in there, and I don't know the ins and outs of it. You could throw in Joe Mixon as well, because
absolutely,
the Bengals didn't want to keep him.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
He looks like a new guy in Houston. So Jeff, you're welcome, but he looks really good there too. So you can throw him in that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought that was interesting when you take a look at it, and so I'm not sure that works anymore. And I get it if you don't want to pay a running back as much as you do a quarterback, but I mean, does it make sense for your number one running back to make less a year than your number 2 or 3 wide receiver? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Not when you see how much of an impact they have on the outcome of the game and how much they actually touch the ball.
Yeah.
Compared to your second or third receiver. Something's wrong for me in that pecking order.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. The Jamar Chases of the world and the Tyreek Hills, those guys need to be paid. Amon-Ra St. Browns. But it's that second guy, that 12, 13 million a year, 15 million a year guy that's number 2, and you can't pay a number 1 guy more than him? I don't know, but I would like to see that.
It's a discussion, though, to see, like, would a T. Higgins go to another team and be a number 1?
Without Jamar Chase on the other side?
Yeah. Would a Devontae Smith go to another team and be a number 1?
Without A.J. Brown on the other side? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean you're looking at these different things. You even look at San Francisco right now. I think Jennings is their number 1 receiver right now. I mean, he is. Mm-hmm. I think he's what they wanted Brandon Ayuk to be. And Debo's. It's already been noted that this year Debo's numbers are down. He's gone way down. So did they consider Debo to be the number 1 and Ayuk to be the number 2? So Jennings is the number one. Would Debo go to another team and be an outright, number one wide receiver? It's an interesting thought. If some of these number twos or 1As are strong because of the actual one,
right.
Waddle. Would Waddle go somewhere and be an absolute top number
as good
one?
as he's been without Tyreek Hill on the other side? Yeah, I mean it's legitimate.
Could Waddle go to a team to be number one and be an AJ Brown or a Jamar Chase or a Nico Collins? Would he be that number one? I don't know. It's interesting to see.
Some of those guys you just don't know.
You really don't. Look at Deontay Johnson. He was number one for Pittsburgh, and he looked incredibly for Pittsburgh. And then he goes to Carolina, and he's with bad quarterback play. He's the number one in Carolina, and then he goes to Lamar, and we're all thinking, oh man, his numbers are he's getting nothing. Nothing.
Well, you know why he's getting nothing? Because that same childish, unprofessional attitude that got him shown the door in Pittsburgh, followed him to Carolina, it's not something that the Harbaugh puts up with in Baltimore.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. We'll just keep throwing it to Zay. We'll just keep throwing it to Flowers and Bateman. You want to go ahead and pound, and there's no prima donnas. Even I will say this too, man. I like Lamar. He struggles a little bit, I think, with interviews and all that stuff because it's just not his forte, and I don't think he cares, which is good. But he's not a prima donna, man. And they do it right in that organization, in that room there. No one part is bigger than the whole team. And it's the right way to do it. And they're not going to tolerate. Yep, and they'll ride him. They'll ride him on the bench all year long, and they'll deal with the consequences. And so there's a reason why guys like that get pushed around, and eventually it catches up to him. So he's not going to amount to much there, and they'll probably end up parting ways with him at the end of the year. So,
well, speaking of Daniel Jones,
what do you think? Who? We've established that quarterbacking matters.
Yeah.
In this league, especially that relationship with a coach and a quarterback. So who do you think does the best job? Who do you think is the best coach for a QB? And it could be a coordinator, it could be the head coach. Who do you think has done the best job with their QB guy, whether or not they drafted him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm interested in hearing who you have to say, but I've got three coaches top of mind that I think of when I'm thinking of quarterback coach, and I'm going to go with the head coach, not the coordinators, because I don't know all of the coordinators. There could be some Jeff Stoutlands, who is the Eagles' offensive line coach, who is just an offensive line coach whisperer. That could be it for quarterbacks that we just don't hear about as much. I'm only knowing it because being an Eagles fan, obviously.
Of course.
But the three that I bring up is first, I think Andy Reid. Again, Eagles fan.
Oh, absolutely.
Andy Reid's done.
He's the holy grail.
He's done amazing, and before he was the head coach, he was a tight ends coach, and he was an offensive lineman. So, for him to be able to guru these quarterbacks like he can, would have Patrick Mahomes been Patrick Mahomes, say, if he went to the Giants, right?
Oh no, yeah.
Who knows? The talent's there, obviously, we see it, but would he be making the decisions without an Andy Reid? So Andy Reid is one. Two, this guy, he's only been in the league for 1 year. And again, I got some bias on him, but I think it's proven in the past when he was an NFL coach that he's done great with quarterbacks. But that's Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh he was awesome with J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, really turned that kid's program around. Look what he did for Colin Kaepernick. That guy couldn't do anything without Harbaugh. He couldn't even get a job.
Couldn't do anything without him. Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you think of that year before Colin Kaepernick became the Colin Kaepernick that everyone can't stand today. You think about that year he had going to the Super Bowl, like we all thought this was a great thing. It turns out it had to have been Harbaugh. And now Harbaugh goes to an organization that has really struggled and has a incredibly talented quarterback in Herbert. And now Herbert's looking amazing again. I mean, Harbaugh's turned that franchise around in one season. And I know they just lost Monday night, but you look at what their record was last year compared to where they are this year. Harbaugh's done a great job. But right now, I got to say, Other than the obligatory Andy Reid, which is a given, Jim Harbaugh, which is proven, but this guy this year for what he's done with his rookie quarterback, I don't think he gets enough credit as a great quarterback coach because he's known as a defensive mind. Sean Payton, look what he's done with Bo Nix.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of credit to him, and I think there's probably a lot of people that aren't surprised. I mean, Drew Brees was already great with him when he got there, but
he took Drew Brees to another level.
Yeah, and and he made Russell Wilson tolerable for them while he's on the downslide. Great first one thing. So the two coaches that you bring up, what I love about the both of them, and not hard pressed to say that Peyton is an egomaniac, but he's come from the Bill Parcells tree. You got to take the good with the bad. That's how it is. But first thing he did when he got to Denver was told Russell Wilson to clear out that office he's got on the second floor in the building. The quarterback doesn't need an office. His office is on the field. Shut that shit down before the preseason even started. And Harbaugh the other night when they were on Monday Night Football, the Chargers, how many quotes and clips did they show of him marrying himself to Herbert? Bear, however you want to pronounce his name.
He loves the guy.
That's my guy. I want this guy to be my quarterback till I retire. I'm telling you, man,
you don't hear that
that
a lot.
Matters.
It does.
That matters. I believe that it really does. Especially when you're coaching a team of men, there's a lot of testosterone in the room. Unity is a big deal, and it's the guys that know how to do that and unite it and live with the results. Maybe you pick a bad guy and you get fired. Doesn't mean you were a bad coach. But go out that way, not wishy-washy, not playing the blame game. If you got to stand in front of a microphone, 50 microphones, and say, well, you know what? I still believe in the guy, but we didn't get the results we wanted, and I got fired. I got more respect for you than that, than saying, well, we have to design more plays to be more within the skill set. That's just a way of pointing the blame, saying your guy's too stupid to understand what you told him. I'm not an idiot.
Yep.
Give me the guy who says what Harbaugh said.
Yep.
Give me what Sean Payton says. Just listen to me, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Just do what I say. You're going to be just fine. That's a Sean Payton style. But it's worked for him for years.
Bo Nix looks amazing right now. He looks great.
And, dude, he really does. And good for them. Good for them.
He gave Cortland Sutton a resurgence, which we thought Russell Wilson was going to do. But, hey.
The guy, and you want to talk about going someplace and upsetting the apple cart. He got paid. They paid him. They had to pay him a lot of money to get out of retirement. But he went there and he wasn't scared to butt heads with anybody or shake that tree to do things his way. And I like that. It doesn't mean every guy who does it. If it doesn't mean every guy who does it that way is going to be right. But give me that.
Yeah.
I'd rather see that. I'd rather see you do that and fail and move on. Or if you're lucky, do that and be successful.
Who's your quarterback coach?
So, I got a few. I'm going to save my favorite one for last, which I think is going to surprise people only because I'm a team guy and I like to see guys motivate people the right way. But my first guy, we're going to call it honorable mention, is the head coach of the Cardinals with Kyler Murray.
Huh.
I mean, how close before Murray got hurt last year and before he came there, how many people were saying, oh, my gosh, we just gave this guy $200 million.
He was terrible.
And we all know that I'm height biased, and he was terrible before this guy got there. So obviously that guy knows something, and I think he's from the Philadelphia coaching tree, is he not? Didn't he work with your boy? Didn't he work with your boy over there in Philly when they went to the Super Bowl? Shoot, his name eludes me at this time.
Jonathan Gannon? Is that who you're talking about? Yeah. He was the Eagles defensive coordinator when they went to the Super Bowl, yes.
Yeah. So he must know something because that guy looks like a different person now. He is a different player now.
He is.
So good for him. So he's my first honorable mention. Second one, and there's a couple of things about this guy that I love. One is my honorable mention. Second runner-up is Ben Johnson from Detroit. You want to talk about pulling your
hard to argue.
quarterback out of the garbage
Yeah.
can, because that's exactly what Sean McVay did with Jared Goff when he traded him. He threw him in the garbage for Matt Stafford. You can't win with me. So that kid's confidence had to have been shaken. He got a decent deal because they got to the Super Bowl, but he could not have felt really good about it. And then of all places to get sent, he got sent to Detroit.
Yeah.
From LA.
A perennial loser organization until last 2
and
years.
Goff is and Goff. I mean, I think he's a California kid.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to go to Detroit? So you had all of these things up in the air around this situation. The guy's confidence had to be shaken, and he did. Jared Goff had a great quote on one of these Thursday night football games where Ryan Fitzpatrick, or the offensive lineman guy, called him the poor man's Matt Ryan. And you know when I started to like Jared Goff even more was when they interviewed him after the game, and Ryan Fitzpatrick brought it up to call the offensive lineman guy out on it. And Jared Goff said, "I've never considered myself to be the poor man's anything." And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I see the difference. There's no wish. That's that Detroit attitude, I think, that comes from the head coach. But this guy has turned down some jobs. I would love to hire him. I think he's got something there. But he wouldn't take a couple of jobs last year. I think he's that committed to Campbell in Detroit that he wants to ride it out until they think they can't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think they will win it this year, and he's going to lose him, and it's going to be tough to replace. But I think the combination of him and Detroit saved that kid's career. I think he was starting to lose it, and I think this guy saved him. But that's my second guy. I'm starting to ramble now. My last guy, who I just love. First of all, I wish I was thin enough to dress like him, and I could afford it because the guy's the best dressed coach in the league. He's probably the coolest, if you ask me, but is Mike
not
McDaniel.
As cool as Rob.
Not as cool as Rob, but the coolest in the league, in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
If Rob gets a job in the NFL, then McDaniel's got trouble. But Mike McDaniel, because this guy took over Tua, and Tua was on that slope. Riding down the bus hill when he got there. And so apparently he worked for 2 years with Brian Flores, I think it was, and you had a head coach that kept screaming in his ear about all the shit he couldn't do.
Yeah.
All the stuff he didn't know how to do. All the leadership qualities he didn't have. It was just an endless bout of negativity because that was Brian Flores' coaching style. I'm going to beat you till you submit and then mold you into what I want. My sources tell me when Mike McDaniel first got the job in Miami, he locked Tua up in a room and for an hour and a half showed him videos of all the things he could do. He's like, you can do this and you can do that. So we're going to build this offense around this. You are good. I think he had to spend a lot of time working on this guy to convince him that he was good because he spent so much time with somebody telling him that he wasn't. And now look at him. If we could just get him to stop being stupid and run into linemen and risking concussions. But the guy's got the fastest the guy's got the fastest release in the NFL. Nobody gets rid of the ball faster, and his balls are almost always on target. He struggles a little bit with the deep ball, but they don't build the offense around that. And that's just good coaching.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck with you, then I'm going to marry myself to you. And he married himself to the guy. And, and for me, that works.
That's a good match.
And they're not a Super Bowl contender. They're not a Super Bowl contender this year. They've got some stuff. They still got to find a way to win in the cold. But as far as coaching goes, he's another guy who was headed toward the garbage bin. His career was going to be, who's the guy who's the backup now in D.C.? Marcus Mariota. That's where Tua's career was headed.
You're right.
He was going to be the next Marcus Mariota if it wasn't for Mike McDaniel.
Yep.
And now look.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
All right.
So hey, those were some good picks, Marcus. I didn't think about those guys. I guess my homerism showed out, but hey, I'm the commissioner, so I'm going to be as homer as I want to be.
Exactly. All right. So you got some predictions for us for next week?
I do, man. Really quickly, sadly, for both of you watching, there's only 2 weeks. There's only 2 weeks left in the regular season. There's a couple of fights for the final 2 playoff spots, or maybe final 1 playoff spot, I think. But anyways, hey, let's go on and take a look at this week's matchups real quickly, and it's Comistro versus Barry. Big Bear's going to be in New Jersey, so there's a chance he's not paying attention to anything this week, or he's too high or too drunk to figure it out. I think the matchup's way closer than I would like it to be, and I'm hoping I pull this one out. Next,
Okay.
interesting matchup we got on the coolest guy in the league, Rob, playing Young Sheldon. Young Sheldon at
Rob
9
is cool.
and
Come on,
3.
Rob.
Young Sheldon's at 9 and 3. Somehow, again, the dude just keeps winning each and every week. But Rob needs a kicker. But I think Young Sheldon pulls it out. But Rob is one of those teams that always seems to blow it up at the right time. And when I mean blow it up, I mean just score a ton of points. So he's going to ride that Jonathan Brooks train in Carolina, I think, a little bit too much. I would like to see him not be in the starting lineup, but he doesn't really have another running back to throw in there. So I think it's going to come down to how much Jonathan Brooks does this week against Tampa Bay. So we will see. We will see. Young Sheldon's got an emergence of Bijan, Bucky Irving. Those guys have been well. So we'll see. But I think Young Sheldon pulls this one out. The matchup of 2 of the saddest teams right now in the league, Mr. Sadness and Mr. Disappointment, Grass and Hank play each other this week, and it's a really low scoring game. But I think Hank actually wins this one. I think he's got the better lineup, obviously, with Patty Mahomes in there. But
so you're predicting a rough day for the Lot Lizard.
Yeah, I don't think J.K. Dobbins is playing this week for Grass, so he's going to be out. He's going to pick up somebody, so we'll see what happens. But I think Hank pulls this one out. Another 2 of the sad organizations this week is Flip Flops versus Kid Free. Aaron finally won a game last week to pull himself to 4-8. Flip Flops is at 5-7, but what you just talked about, Kyler Murray, he's been kind of coming on. Bryce Young's been coming on. Puka is Puka. And, Kid Free's got a choice to make between Stroud, Geno, and Kirk. They could be good names. They could be absolutely terrible. I think Flip Flops goes 2 in a row and beats Kid Free and evens both of their records to Flip Flops will be 6-7 and Kid Free would be 4-9. So.
So he'll get the scarlet. So the loser gets the scarlet letter would be eliminated, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And then the final 2 matchups of the week are pretty interesting. Bad guy. You play Jake, and now we make fun of Jake an awful lot, and he lost this week, but he did score 138, which would have beaten you.
It's a good week. Would have beat me,
this week. So Joe Burrow's been lighting up for him. Drake May's been kind of coming on. Christian McCaffrey, I think they're already going to shut him down because I don't think they have a chance of making the playoffs. So we'll see what McCaffrey does this week. But, again, your team is hard to tell. Lamar and Tua could have 35-point games or they could have 15-point games like I had this week with my quarterback.
And I think Tua's playing on Thursday.
And Jake's fighting for one of those last playoff spots. So, Marcus, I think that you're going to maybe pull out a 3rd week in a row of the not Aaron's slimmest victory. That's how I feel there. I think it's going to be a close matchup, though. And then finally, the matchup of the week. It is the soon-to-be Your Mom world champion Mad Scientist versus Earpiece and Z's and Sorry, our local tech support guy. Somehow his team got in here. I think he coded his team on the back end. But Control-Alt-Delete, Mad Scientist. Control-Alt-Delete's 9-3. Mad Scientist is 7-5. His team is way better than his record insists. And I don't know. Bo Nix is one of those anomalies right now. It was a good trade. Josh Allen is back for Mad Scientist. And I think, barring a Herculean effort from Saquon this week, I think Control-Alt-Delete pulls out the win. I kind of like to see Mad Scientist win, but I think, unfortunately, Narin's going to win another one, and Bangladesh Bobby's going to be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. But
So now,
you never
if
know.
he loses, though, if he loses, and did that mean you two guys got to fight it out in the last week for the number 1 seed on that division, or what?
Well, I'm 8-4. He's 9-3. He's got me in points, and he's got the tiebreaker because he beat me. So I'm pretty sure if he loses, I'm still down in the tiebreaker, and
Jeff has no chance.
If he loses 2 in a row, which I don't see happening, I don't think Jeff can get a 1 seed by any means. But
okay.
But I think he has a chance to beat him this week. It just all depends on the guys. And you know what? Going back to my matchup, I look at Barry. The Eagles play the Ravens, and it's going to be a tight matchup. But the Ravens secondary is horrible. It could be one of those games where freaking Jalen Hurts throws 3 touchdowns to A.J. Brown. He's got A.J. Brown. I got Jalen Hurts. Saquon may only have 120 yards rushing this week and 1 touchdown. So who knows? Who knows? This whole
keep in mind that same Ravens defense just shut down the Chargers the other night.
Yeah, I mean,
and they historically they finished strong, especially defensively. So I wouldn't sleep on the Ravens defense being so terrible as they were early in the season.
I wouldn't put the Chargers offense in the same category as the Eagles offense. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, not with Barkley. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right.
But we also have to contend with Derrick Henry. So I think it'll be a fun matchup. That game will be a fun matchup. The house is open Sunday. The doors are open. The TVs are on. Whoever wants to come.
Yeah, maybe I will swing by there for the early ones on Sunday.
So that's all I got though for this week. I know I said it'd be a quick one. We're still at the same time we normally do it, but
yeah, that's because I ramble on too much. These clowns should be used to it already. Nobody's watching anyway. So
that's right. Yeah,
who cares how long it goes?
Is your daughter? I think it's your daughter.
Yeah. So, anyway,
we've said some very hot takes in these last few weeks, and nobody wants to comment on it. I don't get it. I don't understand.
It may just be above. We may just be geniuses trying to speak to idiots.
Yes.
And it's just right over their head because they just don't get it. I don't know. Yeah, but it's good stuff anyway. Yeah, good stuff in this week, guys. Check out the enhanced YouTube 2.0 version. Like and subscribe. And I guess we're out of here. We're going to call it a week. Next week, I want to do a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And next week, I want to do a little Letterkenny tribute, only because I think it's a great show. And we got to try to find a way to help promote it so that more people watch it. Check it out on Hulu. All right, guys. See you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Later, Commish.
Go Birds!
Pay me my money.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling-a-ring, ting-a-ting-a-ling-a-too. Ring-a-ling-a-ling-a-ting-a-dong. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with a Jew.